Welcome, my friends. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that is not just a story. It is a journey through pain, beauty, loneliness, love, madness, fame, loss, and survival. It is the story of a man whose eyes tell 1,000 secrets. The man who made millions fall in love with him. Not because he was perfect, but because he was beautifully broken. This is not a story of success. This is a story of a sensitive soul in a cruel world. This is a story of Johnny Depp. And if you think you already know him, trust me, you don't. This story will also help you improve your English by listening to simple, clear, and interesting sentences while enjoying Johnny Depp's life journey. Let's begin. Johnny Depp was born on June 9, 1963, in Owensboro, Kentucky, USA. His full name is John Christopher Depp II. He was the youngest of 4 children, and his life was never soft or sweet. His family was poor, and they were always moving. Do you know how many times he changed homes before he was a teenager? More than 20 times. He never felt stable. Never had long-lasting friends. He grew up feeling like a visitor in his own life. His mother, Betty Sue, worked as a waitress, a hard-working woman, but emotionally abusive. She hit him, insulted him, and made him feel small and unwanted. His father, John Depp Sr., was a civil engineer, a quiet man who didn't fight back. One day, he just walked away, leaving 15-year-old Johnny to protect the family. Johnny described his childhood like this. It was full of violence, sadness, and silence. He had no peace inside the home, so he found his peace in other things. At the age of 12, something magical happened. His mother gave him a guitar. He didn't know how to play it, but when he held it, he felt something. He went into his room and stayed there for hours, just playing, listening, learning. Music became his best friend, his escape, his healing. By the age of 16, Johnny dropped out of high school. He didn't want to study. He just wanted to make music. He joined a rock band called The Kids and started performing in bars and clubs. He was living in a tiny apartment, eating very little, and chasing a dream that felt almost impossible. But he didn't care. Music was his everything. At 20 years old, Johnny married Lori Ann Allison, a makeup artist. She was older than him, 25, and she supported him. They didn't have a perfect marriage, and it only lasted 2 years, but Lori did something that changed Johnny's life forever. She introduced him to an actor, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas saw something raw and unique in Johnny and told him, "You have a powerful face. Try acting just once." Johnny didn't want to be an actor. He wanted to be a rock star, but he was broke, and he thought, why not? Johnny auditioned for a horror movie called A Nightmare on Elm Street. He had no experience, no acting school, and no plan. But his honest eyes and nervous charm won the director's heart. He got the part. And just like that, Johnny Depp was on screen, being killed by a bed in one of the most famous horror scenes in movie history. He didn't become a star immediately, but something started that day. He began to feel the power of acting, how he could use it to express his emotions, his pain, his madness. He realized, this is another kind of music, a music of the soul. As his acting career started growing, something else was growing too, his sadness. He started smoking cigarettes in his teens. It became a habit, then stayed with him all his life. Later in Hollywood, he was introduced to alcohol and drugs. He said it helped him calm the storms inside. He was not a party boy. He didn't do it for fun. He did it because he was hurting inside. I started drinking because I was trying to numb something. I didn't know what, but it was deep. This pain would follow him for decades, affecting his relationships, career, and reputation. In 1987, Johnny got a role in a TV show called 21 Jump Street. He played a young undercover cop in a high school. The show was a massive hit. Overnight, he became a teenage heartthrob. Girls screamed his name. Posters of him were everywhere. But Johnny hated it. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want to be just a pretty face. He wanted to be an artist, not a product. So after a few seasons, he quit the show, even though it was giving him fame and money. Why? Because Johnny Depp is not a businessman. He is a poet with a broken guitar. In 1989, at a movie premiere, Johnny saw her. Winona Ryder. He was 26, she was 17, they locked eyes, and something clicked. They started dating, and within a year, they were engaged. Johnny said, "I had never been in love before, not like this." He tattooed Winona Forever on his arm. He held her hand at every red carpet. He called her his soulmate. But fame, age, and pressure broke them. In 1993, they separated. Johnny was devastated. He changed his tattoo to Wino Forever, a sad joke that covered a broken heart. This was his first deep heartbreak. Johnny also owned a famous Hollywood club called the Viper Room. In 1993, his friend, actor River Phoenix, died of a drug overdose outside Johnny's club. Johnny was shocked, broken, and full of guilt. He closed the club for a week. He stayed away from cameras. He started going deeper into alcohol, isolating himself, and playing sad songs on his guitar late at night. He once said, "There's a huge sadness that never leaves me, but I learned how to live with it." After the pain of losing Winona Ryder and watching his friend River Phoenix die, Johnny Depp entered a dark space inside his mind. He didn't stop working. He didn't stop moving. But something inside him had changed forever. He was now searching, not for fame, not for money, but for meaning. And then, like a strange miracle, he met a man who understood him without words. In the early 1990s, Johnny met Tim Burton, a film director with wild hair and even wilder dreams. Tim was not like other directors. He was strange, quiet, creative, and full of imagination. He looked at Johnny and saw something beautifully broken. Tim offered Johnny the lead role in a new movie, Edward Scissorhands, a boy created in a lab who had scissors instead of hands. Edward was quiet, kind, gentle, but dangerous. He couldn't touch anyone without hurting them. It was a perfect match. Johnny read the script and cried. He said, "Edward is me. He speaks through his eyes. He feels too much. He doesn't belong." When the movie was released in 1990, it became a masterpiece. Johnny's performance touched millions. He wasn't just acting. He was Edward. This was not just a movie. This was Johnny's rebirth. He and Tim Burton became close friends, like family. They would go on to make 8 films together, including Sleepy Hollow, 1999, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, 2005, Corpse Bride, 2005, Sweeney Todd, 2007, Alice in Wonderland, 2010. Each film was strange, dark, artistic, and Johnny gave his soul to every character. After Winona, Johnny fell in love again, this time with supermodel Kate Moss. They were both famous, beautiful, and full of chaos. Their relationship was passionate but wild. They fought, they laughed, they cried, sometimes in public. In 1994, Johnny was arrested for destroying a hotel room in New York. When police arrived, the room was completely broken, furniture smashed, glass everywhere. Kate was sitting quietly on the bed, unharmed. When asked why he did it, Johnny said, "I had a bad day. I was angry. That's it." He paid $10,000 in damages and left. But that night became one of the most talked about stories in Hollywood. The relationship lasted 4 years. Kate later said Johnny was the only man who truly took care of her. But she lost him, and herself, when they broke up. In 1998, everything changed again. Johnny was filming in France when he met Vanessa Paradis, a French singer and actress. She was soft-spoken, elegant, and different from anyone he had met before. They started dating, and in 1999, Johnny became a father for the first time. His daughter, Lily Rose Melody Depp, was born. 3 years later, they had a son, Jack Depp. Johnny said, "The birth of my daughter gave me life. It was like my heart moved outside of my body and now lives in someone else." He stopped partying, reduced drinking, and focused on being a father. He said he would do anything to keep his children safe and happy. He bought homes in France, spent time in the countryside, and protected his children from Hollywood. He said, "My kids saved me." Vanessa and Johnny were never married, but they were together for 14 years. A strong, private relationship built on respect and love. In 2003, something happened that changed Johnny's life forever. Disney was making a movie called Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. They asked Johnny to play a pirate named Captain Jack Sparrow. But Johnny didn't want to play it the boring way. He said, "What if he's drunk? What if he walks like Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones? What if he wears too many rings and talks with his hands?" Everyone thought he was crazy. Disney executives were nervous. One of them even asked, "Is he drunk? Is he gay? What is he doing?" But Johnny didn't listen. He trusted his madness. When the movie was released, the world fell in love. Jack Sparrow became a global icon. Johnny was nominated for an Oscar, became the face of Disney, and played Jack Sparrow in 5 movies. Children dressed like him. Adults admired him. The world laughed and cried with him. He earned hundreds of millions of dollars, and he said, "Jack Sparrow is my alter ego. He gave me freedom." But behind the fame, trouble was growing again. Even though he was one of the richest actors in the world, Johnny's money was disappearing fast. He spent millions on a private island in the Bahamas, 14 homes, dozens of luxury cars, art, wine, and rare books, gifts for friends and staff, even firing ashes of his friend Hunter S. Thompson into the sky from a cannon. Cost $3 million. People said he had no control over his money. His spending was emotional, not logical. At the same time, his drinking returned. He was seen with wine in his hands at parties, award shows, even interviews. He said, "I don't drink to escape. I drink to feel." In 2009, Johnny met actress Amber Heard on the set of The Rum Diary. She was beautiful, younger, confident, and very different from Vanessa. Johnny said, "I saw something wild in her eyes, like fire." They began dating, and after splitting with Vanessa in 2012, Johnny and Amber got married in 2015. At first, everything seemed romantic, but soon, the relationship became toxic. Fights, shouting, accusations, bruises, lies. In 2016, Amber filed for divorce and accused Johnny of domestic abuse. The media turned against Johnny. He lost roles. He lost fans. He lost friends. Johnny said, "I never hurt her. I would never hurt any woman." But people didn't believe him. He stayed silent for years, and the pain grew heavier and heavier. The world had turned its back on him. The man who once walked on red carpets, who was once loved by millions, now walked in silence. Studios closed their doors. Movie offers disappeared. Friends stopped calling. Newspapers called him a monster. But in his heart, Johnny Depp held on to one thing: the truth. When Amber Heard accused him of abuse, he said nothing for a long time. He didn't shout. He didn't cry on TV. He didn't post videos online. He just stayed silent. But silence became his prison. The world only heard one voice: hers. And slowly, people started to believe that voice. Not because it was true, but because it was loud. Johnny lost roles worth hundreds of millions. He was removed from Fantastic Beasts. He was cut out from films. His name became a joke in gossip shows. He said, "I was guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around. I was canceled, broken, forgotten." But something inside him, the same fire that helped him survive poverty, heartbreak, and pain, began to burn again. He said, "If I don't speak now, my children will grow up believing their father is a monster. I cannot let that happen." In 2018, Amber wrote an article in the Washington Post. She said she was a victim of domestic abuse. She didn't mention Johnny's name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. That article destroyed what was left of his career. Johnny finally said, "Enough." In 2020, he filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Amber Heard. He wanted to prove that everything she said was false. The case was not just about money. It was about his name, his children, and his soul. But the battle was not easy. Amber fought back with a $100 million counter-lawsuit. She brought in lawyers, interviews, and a whole army of headlines. The trial began in April 2022, and it was watched by the entire world. It wasn't just a legal battle. It became the biggest courtroom drama in modern history, live-streamed on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. For 6 weeks, Johnny sat inside the courtroom. He wore black suits, sunglasses, and a calm expression. But behind his calm face were years of pain and silence. He took the stand and told the world his side of the story. He spoke slowly, emotionally, honestly. He said, "I have never hit a woman in my life. I was abused. I was the one who was hurt." The courtroom heard audio recordings, Amber shouting, cursing, laughing at him. In one recording, she said, "Tell the world, Johnny, tell them, I, Johnny Depp, am a victim of domestic violence. And see if anyone believes you." That one line shocked millions. People around the world suddenly started listening. This wasn't the story they were told. This was something darker, deeper, and very different. As the trial went viral, millions of fans came forward to support Johnny. They created fan art, songs, videos, and hashtags like #Justice for Johnny Depp. TikTok was filled with clips from the courtroom. People watched the trial live for hours every day. Even psychologists, lawyers, and celebrities started giving their opinions. Johnny never asked for their support, but the people gave it, because they could feel the truth. One fan said, "We grew up with this man. He made us laugh, cry, and dream. We won't let him be destroyed like this." On June 1st, 2022, The jury finally gave their decision. Johnny Depp had won. They said Amber's claims were false, damaging, and intentionally hurtful. Johnny was awarded $10 million in damages. Amber got only $2 million for a small part of her counterclaim. Johnny did not scream. He did not jump. He simply smiled. A quiet, peaceful smile. Because this was not about money. This was about freedom. He said, "The truth is all I ever wanted. The truth never perishes." It was over. The long, painful war had ended, and Johnny Depp walked out of the courtroom as a free man, with his head high, his heart proud, and his truth shining for the whole world to see. Johnny Depp had survived the storm. But what do you do after you win the fight of your life? When the courtroom is silent, the fans have gone home, the lights are off, and you're left standing in your own shadow. What next? For most people, that kind of war would break them forever. But not Johnny. After the trial, he didn't return to the man he used to be. He didn't try to rebuild what was destroyed. He chose to start something new, something real, something only his soul could create. He moved far from Hollywood. No paparazzi, no loud parties, no fake handshakes. He found peace in France, where the roads are quiet, the coffee is strong, and people don't ask for selfies. They just let you be. In a small village, he bought an old stone house, surrounded by trees and hills. Every morning, he would wake up early. No alarm, no schedule. Just the sound of birds and the smell of bread from the nearby bakery. He would walk barefoot across the cold wooden floor, make himself a cup of coffee, light a cigarette, and sit by the window for hours, just watching the light touch the leaves. For the first time in years, he was alone with his soul, and it wasn't screaming anymore. It was quiet. It was healing. Inside that quiet, Johnny began to paint. Not just for fun. He painted as if his life depended on it. He painted faces, emotions, memories, wounds. He painted the people who inspired him. Bob Marley, Hunter S. Thompson, Keith Richards, Heath Ledger. With every brushstroke, he poured out the things he could never say in words. He said, "Paintin' saved me. It gave me peace when everything else tried to destroy me." People saw his work and were shocked. It wasn't just good. It was soul art. His paintings were displayed in galleries. One of his art collections sold out in hours and earned over $3 million in one day. But for Johnny, it was never about money. It was about truth. Just like his movies, just like his music, just like his life. At night, Johnny would play guitar. Not for an audience, not for applause. Just for the stars, the moon, and the ghosts of his memories. He joined his rock band Hollywood Vampires again and went on tour across Europe. He shared the stage with legends like Alice Cooper and Joe Perry. Thousands of fans screamed his name. But on stage, Johnny wasn't Captain Jack Sparrow. He wasn't the Hollywood actor. He was just a boy with a guitar, playing the music that kept him alive during the darkest nights. After the shows, he wouldn't go to big parties. He would sit backstage with a glass of wine, laughing with his old bandmates, telling stories about love, loss, and the strange beauty of being misunderstood. He started doing small film projects again, but not for big studios. He acted in Jean du Barry, a French film where he played King Louis XV. The film opened at the Cannes Film Festival and received a 7-minute standing ovation. But Johnny didn't smile too much. He simply bowed, looked at the crowd with tired eyes, and left. Someone asked him, "How do you feel about being back?" He answered, "I never left. I was just invisible. That's the thing about Johnny. Even in silence, he's still there. Watching, feeling, living. In his personal life, Johnny didn't return to any past relationships. He had many beautiful women in his life, but he said, "I'm not looking for a partner to complete me. I'm trying to complete myself." He spent more time with his children, especially his son Jack, who stayed out of the spotlight. With Lily Rose, he shared long talks about art, fame, and how to protect your heart in a world full of noise. He said, "My kids are my greatest creation. More than any movie, more than any role, they saved me." Behind closed doors, Johnny still faced hard days. Some nights were lonely, some mornings were heavy. The scars didn't disappear. The betrayal didn't vanish. The pain didn't fully heal. But he learned to live with it, not against it. He learned to accept the silence. He learned to cry without shame. He learned to laugh again, not because life was perfect, but because he was finally free. He wrote letters. He painted faces. He read poetry. He adopted more dogs. He drank tea in the morning instead of rum. He kissed his guitar goodnight. He didn't chase awards, headlines, or people's approval anymore. He chased truth. And that made him the most dangerous man in Hollywood. A man who doesn't need the system to survive. And now, the world looks at Johnny differently. Not just as a movie star, not just as Jack Sparrow, not just as a man who won a trial, but as a living legend, a symbol of how to rise after the world burns your name. Young artists say, "If Johnny can survive what he did, then I can too." Fans say, "He taught me to fight for my truth, even when no one believes me." Mothers say, "He reminds me that kindness doesn't mean weakness." Fathers say, "He shows my son what it means to be strong without being cruel." Johnny doesn't care about being remembered, but he will be. Not because of fame, not because of fortune, but because he walked through fire and came out with a heart still beating. His story is not just a biography. It's a message to everyone who has ever been broken, betrayed, silenced, or shamed. You can lose everything: your name, your work, your friends. But as long as you hold on to your truth, no one can destroy you. Johnny Depp didn't just live. He survived. He didn't just act. He felt. He didn't just speak. He screamed in silence. And now, after all the pain, all the lies, all the years, he smiles again. Not because life is easy, but because he finally found something no one could ever take away: himself. So now, dear listener, we come to the end of Johnny Depp's unbelievable life journey. A story filled with pain, passion, betrayal, love, failure, victory, and truth. He was not born with magic. He was not handed success. He was a boy from a broken home, a school dropout, a lonely musician, a man who got lost in fame, love, alcohol, and darkness. But despite everything, he never gave up. He kept going. He kept believing in his art. He kept walking alone, even when the whole world was against him. And look at where he is now. Johnny Depp's net worth in 2025 is around $150 million. There was a time when he had lost almost everything due to betrayal, lawsuits, and expensive legal battles. But he came back stronger. His per-movie fee used to be $20 to $25 million, especially during the peak of Pirates of the Caribbean. Even today, if he chooses to act in a major film, his price stays close to $10 to $15 million, depending on the role. He owns multiple homes, including a $19 million estate in the south of France, a peaceful stone village with vineyards where he finds peace, A $13 million mansion in Hollywood Hills, a $3 million penthouse in Los Angeles, and even a private island in the Bahamas worth $3.6 million. A paradise where he goes to escape the world. His car collection is wild and artistic, just like him. It includes a Rolls-Royce Wraith, a Chevrolet Corvette, a Porsche 911 Carrera, a Cadillac Escalade, multiple vintage cars and motorbikes that he collects like pieces of history. But beyond the money, the fame, and the luxury, the real success of Johnny Depp is something else. It is his courage to keep going when the world tried to shut him down. It is his ability to turn pain into power. It is his choice to walk away from fake people and still choose kindness. And that, my friend, is where you come in. If you're listening to this right now and you feel like you don't have the talent, the money, the support, the beauty, or the education to succeed, then remember Johnny's story. He was poor, he was broken, he was hated, he was misunderstood, but he still became one of the most loved, respected, and powerful artists in the world. So why can't you? Maybe you failed. Maybe you were cheated. Maybe they laughed at your dream. It doesn't matter, because your story is not over. You have time. You have heart. You have fire inside you. Start small. Practice your art. Speak your truth. Stay kind. Keep walking, even when it hurts, even when no one believes in you, even when you feel alone. And one day, just like Johnny Depp, the world will know your name, and they'll ask you, "How did you do it?" You'll smile and say, "Because I never gave up." If this story touched your heart, if you felt something deep inside you while listening, if you believe in yourself just a little more now, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because we will keep bringing you more real, raw, and powerful stories to help you dream, to help you grow, and to remind you that you are not alone. Thank you for being with us on this journey. Your story matters. Your dreams matter. You matter. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay strong, stay real, and never stop dreaming.